Hello, it's Dr. 007, and today we're showing you guys the ultimate Windows tweaker for Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. Now, the ultimate Windows tweaker was a program developed for previous versions of Windows. In fact, the Windows 7 version was actually voted by many different websites, including Lifehacker, as the best tweaking application for Windows 7. Well, about 2 days ago, the program was updated for Windows 8 and 8.1. So today I'd like to show you guys the whole program and some of the awesome tweaks that come with it. It includes over 170 tweaks and is less than half a megabyte. In the description below, I'll have a link to the official Windows Club page for the tweaker. Through here you can get the latest version, as well as you can read about the program, and you guys can see that it includes over 170 tweaks and is just about 340 kilobytes. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, you can go to the download Ultimate Windows Tweaker and click that, and it's about half a megabyte, so it'll take about probably a second or two, not even, to download. Once it is downloaded, it comes in a simple RAR file, or sorry, a zip file, and then all you want to do is open it up and you'll see Ultimate Windows Tweaker folder. Open that up, and here you'll have an empty icon file, a readme file, a Ultimate Windows Tweaker program, which is the actual program, a URL page. But basically, guys, in this video we are most curious about the actual program. Alright, so now I'll go through and show you guys the tweaks that are available through this program. Like I mentioned earlier, there's over 170 tweaks, so I can't go through all of them, but I will go through some of the coolest ones that are available that most of you guys will use, or that I think I should be covered. So the very first page that will open up is the system information page. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's going to display your system information, so things like your operating system, Windows rating, processor, system type, RAM, username, computer name. At the bottom we have some more administrative options, things like the recovery options. The recovery options have things like creating a recovery drive, which you can kind of use to refresh or reset your computer if something happens. System restore, you can restore your computer to a previous time in history. Configure system restore is just the options for system restore. System file checker utility runs the sfc scan now command. Basically what it will do is scan the Windows drive, actually Windows installer files, not your documents or your pictures or personal files, but basically all Microsoft's files. It will scan all of them for modifications. Any modifications that are detected, it will get replaced with the default Microsoft file. So if you're big into Windows theming and you've replaced, for example, the explorer.exe file, and let's say you by accident deleted the original, so now you're stuck with a custom version, or let's just say you have a messy area. Like I remember one time after about 2 years of custom theming, I had a pretty messy one of the mixtures of old themes still, etc. I ran this command. What it did was it basically replaced all of them with the default, and I was able to get Windows back to default once again. So now it's on to the customization tab. Definitely the biggest tab that is available in this program. So under appearance we have things like, these are mostly taskbar things. Now, nice thing with this program, if you put your mouse over something, it will kind of give you an explanation about it. Now if you're not sure what it is, I don't suggest applying it unless you completely know what it's going to do. So a lot of these are pretty useless in my opinion. My favorite one is the taskbar thumbnail. Thumbnail for your taskbar is what happens is when you put your mouse over something, you'll get that little preview, right? Well, using this little area here, you can actually adjust it, the size of it. So my favorite is to actually like max it out. And what it will do, and if you hit apply for that, and then you put your mouse over it, it basically makes it huge. And I actually really like that, especially having a nice big monitor. Having a nice big thing like that, it just makes my life easier. I like it much better than the way it currently is. Now, of course, you can play with all kinds of different things, and when you don't like it anymore or whatever it may be, you can press restore defaults and it will bring it back to the default. Make sure you hit apply to adjust the settings. Now you may notice in my taskbar my icons are kind of spread out like the old Windows XP. Now how I did that is using taskbar buttons and grouping. Basically I have it set group to when taskbar is full, which basically means when it's not full it won't group. Grouping basically I'll show you what grouping is. Grouping basically takes the program and squishes it just to the icon, so you can see it takes up much less space on the taskbar. By having a large monitor and a high resolution, I never really run out of room, so for me, I personally like when it's longer, it's easier to click, etc. A lot of the other options here are for really, I would say, blocking a 2-year-old from accessing. So you can remove the volume icon, network icon from notification area, but really, I don't really see the points in most of these ones. File Explorer, these are tweaks that are available for the File Explorer. Some of these are available in the options, some are not. Definitely some ones you want to check out are the contents menu tweaks. You can add the option take ownership, so basically what it does is when you right click a file or folder, you have the option to immediately take ownership of it. It's great for replacing system files in Windows. The other ones here are basically Windows Explorer stuff, so you can disable like arrow snap, which is that feature when you take a window and you drag it around like that, it will minimize all other windows. So just for example here, I'll have this one here. If I shake it, it immediately closes. So that's how that works. You can disable that. You can disable, arrow peak feature, which is the peaking thing. You can disable, which is this thing right here. You can disable that. You can disable info tab. You can basically disable a lot of stuff. But would you want to? I would say no. Modern UI, these are some cool little ones that you may actually want to play with. Start screen animation. When you first log into your computer, you can actually have an animation kind of play. What it basically do is your name and your tiles will kind of like fly in from the left at whatever speed in whatever way you want them to do that. You can do that by editing this. You drag it back around and you hit play, and it will do that when you log into the computer. Under navigation, these are kind of things to get to the tiles. So for example, the first one, if you bring your mouse in the top right hand corner in Windows, you get the charm bar. You can actually disable that by just turning it off, as well as upper left hand corner is the recent apps, so you can get rid of that. You can have go to the desktop when I sign in, so instead of showing the start menu or the start screen, modern UI, whatever you want to call it, it will go straight to the desktop, which is what I personally prefer. The show apps, you automatically want to go to start. Basically what that means is when you click the start button in the corner, it will bring you to apps instead of bringing you to the tiles. List desktop apps first. What that means is it will show your actual Windows programs first instead of the tiles. Show desktop background is a start screen background. It's pretty self-explanatory. And don't replace command prompt with PowerShell on the WinX menu. WinX menu is the Windows X menu on your keyboard, or if you right click the start button, that's it as well. Now of course, anytime that during this video, if you apply something and want to restore it back to default, simply press restore default and it will bring it back together again. Just some additional stuff. So basically these are things like disable lock screen screen image. You can actually enable a slideshow on the lock screen. You can disable first sign in animation when new account is created. Miscellaneous stuff. So it's kind of simple stuff. For example, when you first open a new type of file, you get that notification saying you have new apps that can open this type of file. You can disable that. An actual option here that's actually pretty useful is the notification display time. When a notification is displayed, it usually slides out from the left in your top right hand corner and kind of tells you whatever it wants to tell you, and it sits there for about 5 seconds. You can actually adjust how long it will sit there for. That way you make sure that you can actually go ahead and read it. User accounts, this is mostly logging in stuff. So you can have last login information on your login screen. So if you put your mouse over it, you can read about it. It will show the information about the last person logged into the PC. If you're kind of a piracy kind of person, you want to know who logged into your computer. This one right here is an interesting one, which is make user enter username while logging in. So basically, when you log in, if you have multiple accounts on the computer, it will show their pictures. You select the account that you want to log into, and you type in the password. What this does is it makes you actually type in the username of the password, then the password. So the person has to know you the username and the password instead of just guessing the password. All the other ones here are kind of useless to the average person, but different ones require users to control or delete when you log in. A cool one too is actually enable verbose login messages. Basically what this will do is instead of when you log into your computer, it will say logging in or welcome, and when you shut down the computer, it says shutting down. If you enable this, what it will do is while you're shutting down, instead of saying just shutting down, it will tell you exactly what it's doing while it's shutting down. So instead of saying shutting down, it will say closing Windows Update service, shutting down services, stopping Explorer, whatever it may be, it will actually tell you what it's doing. A good thing with this is actually you can enable it, and let's say your computer won't shut down, you can actually find out what's preventing it from shutting down, because it will actually tell you what is not moving. Like it will be stuck at something. Same for logging in. When you log in, instead of saying welcome right away, it will tell you preparing your desktop, loading whatever. It kind of gives you more information. Login message, when you first type in your password, it'll bring up this kind of a blank screen with text on it saying whatever you want to put there. A lot of system administrators do this, kind of saying by logging in you agree to these terms of services. By default, when your system fails, it will go to the blue screen of death, which will kind of be on Windows 8. It's not as bad. It has that sad face and collects information, and then you have the option to reboot afterwards. Using this program, you can actually have it automatically reboot. So instead of showing the blue screen of death, then after a minute it not doing anything and then you reboot anyway, you can actually have a reboot right away and just kind of save you a couple minutes. Performance tab is definitely the more advanced tab in this program. Don't tweak any of these things unless you exactly know what it's going to do. Feel free to Google it or ask below, and I'm sure someone will respond to you exactly what it will do, but I'll explain a couple of them. So at the top here we have waiting time to kill application during shutdown in milliseconds. So basically when you shut down your computer, the computer waits to make sure all programs are closed. Now this is the waiting time before it just goes ahead and ends the program. So you can set it to 0, and in result you'll have a faster shutdown because it will immediately start shutting down. But the disadvantage to this is if you have a program that isn't fully closed yet, it will actually just close it and not allow it to save. So if you have Microsoft Word open, for example, it will not save your documents unless it can recover afterwards, but the chances of you losing your stuff increase a crap load than letting it kind of save itself and then shut down. Same applies to the services. It's the same idea, how long it takes before it shuts down the service. Below that we have waiting time to kill a non-responding application. So when that program dulls out and says not responding, this is how long it will wait before it just goes ahead and ends the program. The below ones are definitely the more advanced ones. These ones I wouldn't disable, like I said, unless you exactly know what they're going to do, what their advantage and disadvantage is. For example, if you're to disable the printing spooling service, that one will not allow you to print. So if you disable that, you won't be printing anymore. Windows Update service, well, that one's kind of self-explanatory. It's the Windows Update. Smooth scrolling. Basically, when you scroll through Windows, instead of like being choppy, it kind of like slows down. You can disable that. It'll actually increase performance, but then it looks kind of choppy. So again, I wouldn't touch these unless your computer is a little bit on the slow side. Search indexer, it handles the search indexing. By indexing, it basically enables your searching, if you ever search for a file, to be about 100 times faster. You turn this thing off and you search for a file, expect to wait a while, and it will probably tell you to go turn it on again so that it will speed up the performance of searching. In the security tab, this is basically all admin stuff. And unless you're a administration person of like a computer that multiple people use and you want to disable basically everything they can do, then I wouldn't actually really bother with this tab. Now the nice thing about Windows, this program, is because it is a portable program and it's 0.5 MB, you can literally throw this program on a flash drive, plug it into a different computer, and then apply these settings, and then take the flash drive out and really just walk away from the computer. Like I said, these options here are mostly admin stuff. So you have things like disable the registry, disable the control panel, disable task manager, shortcuts, command prompt, disable personalization options, internet communication. You can actually disable the ability to log off or shut down. A lot of really useless stuff unless you're an administrator. So this is basically all disabling Windows features and Windows options. Internet Explorer, this is the tab that will affect Internet Explorer 10 and 11. You shouldn't be using this because you shouldn't be using Internet Explorer. If you are, go switch to something else. And if you're still using it, then here are some of the options you can really choose. Not much. Most of this stuff is actually available in the options for Internet Explorer. You can go to the settings and most of the stuff is there somewhere. But this is just one location for all of them. So a lot of this stuff is pretty simple, like clear type font, clearing the cache on every exit, warn on closing multiple tabs. For example, if you exit out and you have a couple tabs open, do you want it to tell you, oh, you're going to close multiple tabs? Load Internet Explorer in full screen mode, hide the tab bar in full screen mode, notify download completes. A lot of simple stuff. Most of them are very self-explanatory. Additional, these are things that don't really fall underneath the other ones. So here we have like things like autoplay for all media devices. So when a flash drive or a CD or a phone or whatever it may be is plugged in, connected to the computer, it usually comes up saying, would you like to play the CD or open the files or add it to a playlist, whatever it may be. You can disable that and it'll just essentially won't pop up anymore. The use small taskbar icons, I have that enabled. You can actually enable it through the taskbar settings by right clicking. But with it off, this is what Windows looks like. So I have it disabled because I disabled it and I got used to it, so now I just prefer it small like that. It gives me more space for other programs. So the other stuff like hide inactive icons for notification area, do you disable that? Expect your notification area to really fill up because any application that has been there or can go there will be there. Cursor blinking time until how often it blinks. Scroll bar width, this is kind of a useful one. While scrolling through Chrome or wherever it may be, you can actually increase the width of the scroll bar so it's easier to press. If you have a touchscreen computer, you can enable it pretty big and it'll be easier to scroll. Network tweaks, a lot of this stuff, in my personal opinion, isn't the average person's tweaks. You can restrict access over anonymous connections, so basically the connection has to be known, otherwise will not work. Default admin and disk share server, hide the entire network from network neighborhood. A lot of stuff you're not going to use unless you're actually going out looking for it. Again, put your mouse over it and sometimes it will tell you exactly what it is. But I find for this kind of area here, it won't. Last but not least, our last tweaks are the tweaking options for the actual program itself. So these are things like automatically restart Windows Explorer when I press the apply button. I will leave that checked off. Basically, when you apply something, it will restart the Explorer. That way, the effect takes effect immediately. If you automatically start Windows starts, self-explanatory again. When the computer turns on, the program will immediately open. Last but not least, integrate with desktop context menu. When you right-click the menu, you have this option here. What that will do is add the tweaking program in here and you can instantly open it up. At the bottom, create a restore point, pretty self-explanatory. Restore to defaults, restores everything back to the default settings. Close is close and apply is apply. Anyways guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like. If any questions, comments, or concerns with any of the tweaks or the program in general, leave below as well. And I will have the official download link, the official page actually, for this program. So if there are any updates, if you're watching this video in the future, the link for the new version of this program will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys, and of course, have a great day. This is the Hacker 0007, and I'm signing off.